The major news right now, Republicans are furious at Speaker Mike Johnson because Democrats are winning or arguably neutralizing the Republican effort to gerrymander the House of Representatives. And in a stunning turn of events, it looks as though Republicans will not pick up any seats in the House of Representatives next year during the midterm elections because Democrats have successfully won in critical jurisdictions across the country from California to Utah and elsewhere, where they have been able to pick up seats, including in a state like Kansas and upcoming in states like Virginia, where Democrats are fighting back. And there is even a possibility that Democrats could actually end up with more seats gained in the House of Representatives than Republicans. And well, Republicans right now, they're not happy and they're blaming Mike Johnson. And you want to know why? Because it's Mike Johnson that was the reason why Texas started redistricting in the first place. Texas wasn't going to do it, but Donald Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson pushed Texas officials to gerrymander the state because they felt as though they could not win the House of Representatives in 2026 but for Texas gerrymandering. So let's look right now, according to Dave Wasserman, who is one of a top election experts online. He says that between Ohio, Kansas, California, Virginia, and last night's win in Utah, Democrats have quietly strung together an impressive streak of victories over the past few weeks that have surprisingly pushed the mid decade redistricting war closer to a draw. So I do want to talk about each one of these. Utah last night, Democrats picked up one seat after a court victory, which essentially implemented their maps in Utah versus the Republican maps. In Virginia, Democrats shocked the world by amending the state constitution to essentially allow them to gerrymander the state, to redistrict the state. And Governor elect Spanberger, who won big last week, has already said that she will support efforts to redistrict the state. Then we have California, where you have Prop 50. Prop 50 passed successfully, pretty easily by, I believe it was almost 30 points, a wider margin than Kamala Harris's victory in California. So Prop 50 passed. That's 5 seats for Democrats. In Ohio, you had a deal between Republicans and Democrats not to gerrymander the state too much. Essentially, Republicans wanted to do a full gerrymander to pick up additional seats, and well, they didn't do it. They cut a deal with Democrats. They only made one seat a little more conservative, and yet at the same time, essentially kept all the other seats relatively the same. And then in Kansas, Republicans had a big push to redistrict the state, but they weren't able to. Kansas legislators said that they don't have any appetite to redistrict Kansas in this mid decade redistricting cycle. And so that was a loss for Republicans in Kansas. So you have Ohio, Kansas, California, Virginia, Utah, and you may even have Maryland coming up soon, and Democrats could pick up a seat there. Although thus far, the Maryland Senate President, Bill Ferguson, the Democrat, has been hesitant to redistrict, but there's pressure on him, so we'll see. And well, let's look at the current tallies. So for Republicans have carved out anywhere from 9 to 11 districts, 5 in Texas, a district in Missouri, a district in North Carolina, 1 or 2 districts, depending on the competitiveness in Ohio, 1 or 2 districts, depending on competitiveness in Indiana. Democrats have picked up almost the same amount of seats, if not the same, depending on competitiveness. California, you have 5 Democratic seats. New York, they'll pick up 1. Virginia, pick up 2 to 3. Utah, they'll pick up 1. And then you could add probably Maryland to that list if Maryland decides to go ahead and redistrict. You could theoretically also have Illinois add to the list, although that one's a little less certain. And well, this is enraging Republicans on Capitol Hill because especially California Republicans who have been drawn out of their districts. One of them is Kevin Kiley. Kevin Kiley currently represents the 3rd congressional district in California. He says, I warned the speaker for months that a redistricting war was bad for the country, unpopular with members on both sides, and likely to end in a wash, yet he cheered it on rather than try to stop it. And if you look at this, it's essentially a wash. And a wash is a win for Democrats because at the beginning of this process, Democrats were set to lose anywhere from 5 to 10 seats in the House of Representatives to allow Mike Johnson to essentially remain as Speaker. And now it looks more and more likely, based on all public polling, based on everything we've seen in the redistricting battles, that Mike Johnson not only will not remain as Speaker because he will lose the House in 2026, but also that the Republican plan to actually gerrymander the country in their favor just simply did not work. Simply did not work. And so we're at a situation, we're in a situation where Democrats have been successful in completely neutralizing anything Republicans are doing. And right now, we're about to end the government shutdown, but Republicans don't actually want to work. I want to look at this. This is from Julie Grace Brufke, who says that during yesterday's House Republican meeting, one member said it was a bunch of self entitled divas basically asking the speaker to personally book their flights, guarantee flight departure and arrival times, and oversee airport staffing level. No one wants to cancel VD Veterans Day events, but get over it and get to Washington to do our job. That's the sentiment right now coming out of Washington, D.C., as Republicans are very unhappy with Mike Johnson. Republicans are very unhappy with Mike Johnson, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse for him because now that the House of Representatives is coming back into session after 40 plus days of not working, you're going to have a situation where Mike Johnson is going to be on significant pressure to do a whole host of things, from the Epstein files, because Adelita Grijalva will be signature number 218 on the discharge petition tomorrow regarding those files, to healthcare, where just because the House is reopening doesn't mean the battle over the Affordable Care Act and extending premiums or extending the subsidies that keep premiums low, that battle isn't just going to go away. In fact, it's here to stay for Republicans. And right now, Mike Johnson does not have a plan to fix healthcare in America, does not have a plan to essentially keep premiums at where they are. He does not want to essentially extend the tax credits that have kept premiums low. And so we're in a situation now where Mike Johnson is kind of governing with his hands tied behind his back. It's going to be a very rough few weeks and probably few months for him. And we're looking at another government shutdown now in just 80 days at the end of January, if, especially if Republicans do not get their act together and work with Democrats to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies that so many people rely on in America right now to keep their health insurance premiums lower. So that's the news right now. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Tomorrow's going to be a very busy day, and I'm going to keep you updated through it all. So make sure to turn the post notifications on, and I'll see you in the morning. I'll see you soon.